and welcome to, what is this? This is the what, the 14th? Yes, this is the 14th Course in Miracles lesson. Yay! Um, let me talk about the principles of miracles. I'm going to read principles 34 through 37. So, principle 34 is miracles restore the mind to its fullness. By atoning for lack, they establish perfect protection. The spirit's strength leaves no room for intrusions. 35 says miracles are expressions of love, but they may not always have observable effects. And Principle 37 says, no, I'm sorry, 36 says, miracles are examples of right thinking, aligning your perceptions with truth as God created it. And 37 says, a miracle is a correction introduced into false thinking by me. It acts as a catalyst, breaking up erroneous perception and reorganizing it properly. This places you under the atonement. We talked about the atonement last week. The atonement principle, where perception is healed. Until this has occurred, knowledge of the divine order is impossible. I love when it says miracles are expressions of love. And I know there's another uh, principle of miracle that says anything that's done out of love is a miracle. And I'm grateful for that particular principle because I wanted to highlight that uh, we're waiting on these miracles, right? These miracles are happening now. Every time you work from your higher self as opposed to ego, every time you, which I've been in this situation many times where you decide, you know what, I'm not even gonna go into this rabbit hole. I'm gonna just forgive. Um, or you having an argument with somebody in your family, and it's like, you know what, I love you. Let's just squash it. I love you. That's a miracle. That's where you choose to not follow the ego's voice and choose to follow God's voice. And I always think of when Jesus says, if you're in a situation, and especially if there's a conflict, add love to the mix. Is if it feels impossible, if it feels like you can't get out of, this situation of ego with this person, just add, what would love do? Love wouldn't be preoccupied with what she said and what I said, or his position and my position. It'll just say, you know what, I love you. you know so I wanted to send a reminder to listen to the Ascension videos. I think I put something on WhatsApp uh, to listen to the latest Ascension video, number 7. Jesus is starting to really prepare us for, seems like a lot of things are going to be revealed this year in 2021. Um, so just continue to listen to that, as well as doing the lessons every day. Uh, anybody, if anybody have anything they wanted to highlight with the lessons, anything that struck them, anything like that, I definitely want us to create space here to talk about that. My lesson today from A Course in Miracles was lesson 93, and it was it was so powerful that I said, you know what, I wanted to read the lesson to the group tonight. So I actually wanted to read lesson 93. It's blessed. So if you're able to close your eyes while I read it, just to, sometimes it's it's better to close your eyes, better to focus on what's being said, as opposed to, like the eyes allow you to be distracted. you know um I just want us to really absorb what Jesus is saying for lesson 93. So lesson 93 is light and joy and peace abide in me. So the content says, you think you are the home of evil, darkness, and sin. You think if anyone could see the truth about you, he or she would be repelled, recoiling from you as if from a poisonous snake. You think if what is true about you were revealed to you, you would be struck with horror so intense that you would rush to death by your own hand, living on after seeing this being impossible. These are beliefs so firmly fixed that it is difficult to help you see that they are based on nothing, that you have made mistakes, and your mistakes are obvious, that you have sought salvation in strange ways. You have been deceived, deceiving, and afraid of foolish fantasies and savage dreams, and have bowed down to idols made of dust. All this is true by what you now believe. Today we question this, not from the point of view of what you think, but from a very different reference point from which such idle thoughts are meaningless. These thoughts are not according to God's will. These weird beliefs He does not share with you. This is enough to prove that they are wrong, but you do not perceive that this is so. Why would you not be overjoyed to be assured that all the evil that you think you did was never done, that all your sins are nothing, that you are as pure and holy as you were created, and that light and joy and peace abide in you? Your image of yourself cannot withstand the will of God. You think that this is death, but it is life. You think you are destroyed, but you are saved. The self you made is not the Son of God. Therefore, this self does not exist at all. And anything it seems to do and think means nothing. It is neither bad nor good. It is unreal and nothing more than that. It does not battle with the Son of God. It does not hurt him nor attack his peace. It has not changed creation nor reduced eternal sinlessness to sin and love to hate. What power can this self you made possess when it would contradict the will of God? Your sinlessness is guaranteed by God. Over and over, this must be repeated until it is accepted. It is true. Your sinlessness is guaranteed by God. Nothing can touch it or change what God created as eternal. The self you made, evil and full of sin, is meaningless. Your sinlessness is guaranteed by God, and light and joy and peace abide in you. Salvation requires the acceptance of but one thought: you are as God created you, not what you made of yourself, whatever evil you may think you did. You are as God created you. Whatever mistakes you made, the truth about you is unchanged. Creation is eternal and unalterable. Your sinlessness is guaranteed by God. You are and will forever be exactly as you were created: light and joy and peace abide in you because God put them there. So, as we hear, this is a powerful, 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 powerful lesson. And, when I listened to it, I was just like, oh my gosh, like, thank you, God. Like, we are as God created us, no matter what we've done, no matter what damage we feel like other people have done to us, or damage that we feel like we've done to other people. We are as perfect and pure, you know, as when God created us, as you would, and when you behold a baby, the innocence, we still have that innocence. So I just wanted to share that with you all tonight because it was blessed. It's a blessed lesson, and I encourage everyone to continue to do your lessons every day. And that's what I was saying. It's like you have Jesus telling you who you are every day of the year. And by the end of the year, where would you be? What would you have created? So thank y'all for allowing me to share that. Hi, Roxanne. Thank you for joining. So
Hi, sorry I was late.
hey, hey. Um, so so today we're going to, what I wanted to do was, I know we have talked about the book The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, and today so the last time we kind of delved into the first half of the book. This week I wanted us to, there's so much information there, and so I wanted us to benefit from other wisdom that he have. So we're going to delve deeper into presence and identify how to surrender to what is. What does that mean? How does surrender look? How does it feel? Um, so I wanted to start out by reciting something that Rumi, the great poet and teacher of Sufism, he declared: past and future veil God from our sight. Burn up both of them with fire. So it's a powerful statement that he made. So I'm gonna be reading The Power of Now, page 33. Uh, so let me start with that. Let me start with The Power of Now. I talked about this last week. Page 33. It says, the pain that you create now is always some form of non acceptance, some form of unconscious resistance to what is. On the level of thought, the resistance is some form of judgment. And on the emotional level, it is some form of negativity. The intensity of the pain depends on the degree of resistance to the present moment. And this in turn depends on how strongly you are identified with your mind. The mind always seeks to deny the now and to escape from it. In other words, the more you are identified with your mind, the more you suffer. Or you may put it like this: the more you are able to honor and accept the now, the more you are free of pain, of suffering, and free of the egoic mind. So he's just restating that to resist what is, Eckhart says, is insanity, because it is. It's like, I don't want this to be, but it is. So, so the level of resistance that we have equates to the level of emotional pain that we're in. Uh, so the Eckhart says the quality of your consciousness at this moment is what shapes the future, which of course can only be experienced as the now. I mentioned this in our last session. We create our future right now. So when we obsess over something that we are deeply afraid of, and I just was in this situation. Every week, everything I teach is like, okay, guys, like, let me, okay, now you can experience it. Um, so when we obsess over something that are deeply afraid of, we actually invite that very thing we fear to our experience. We send out again all of our creative energy and play the possibility of that outcome over and over again. And so the best way to ensure that what we fear does not happen is to release the past and the future and be present right now. I was afraid of something that I absolutely dreaded might happen, and I suffered tremendously. I began to mentally obsess over it to the point where I noticed that the worrying produced mental pain. And when I continued to worry, it escalated to anxiety. And at the point of experiencing anxiety, I was suffering so much. Is that me? It sounds like something is.
Oh, that's
Okay, can everybody mute yourself? Because I'm hearing some feedback. I don't know if it's just me or what. But so worry produced mental pain, and when I continued to worry, it escalated to anxiety. And then when I experienced anxiety, I suffered so much that I had to actually go back to presence. And the way that I did this was I had to intentionally take myself to the present moment by asking myself, are you safe right now? Yes. Are you in danger right now? No. Are your loved ones are okay right now? Yes. So can you accept what is right now? Yes. Then stay right here. Don't go into tomorrow. Don't go into what you are fearing. Stay right here in this moment. And I had to like really uh intentionally ground myself in that way, because it was just getting to the point where the anguish, I couldn't tolerate it. So now when I did this, I did feel a sense of release. It did release my suffering in the moment. However, the situation I was in required me to wait for the knowledge of what is. For example, um, if I had gone to a doctor's appointment and I was waiting on the diagnosis of an illness or the like, and you know, when they call you back to come in, but you got to wait. And so I had to wait for a few days for the results. So in that situation, for those of us who plan obsessively, like myself, or for those of us who always want to be in control, like myself, it is absolutely unbearable to not know. That's what was killing me, the not knowing the what is was killing me, literally and figuratively killing me. So in order for me to be fully at peace, I had to trust God and fully accept the possibility of what I feared happening, and remind myself that regardless of what any test result or diagnosis is, I am unconditionally loved by God, and that everything will be okay. That God, my spirit guides, my angels, my friends, my family, and myself, that all of that energy would surround me with love and light, and that everything would be fine. That what happens is supposed to happen because it is. And only then in a situation like that was I able to fully be at peace. And this is called surrender. And we're going to go into deeper into this concept of surrender in a minute. But first, I wanted to address our beliefs about worry. Um, Many of us believe on a subconscious level, and I don't exactly know where this belief comes from, but I even see it in my children. But we believe on a subconscious level that if we worry enough, that some benevolent force is going to magically solve our problem. That the work that we have to put in is worry. So if we worry, then some kind of way it's going to get solved because we're suffering, right? Um, Worrying, as we know, does the exact opposite. Um, we can only begin to draw on the love and light around us when we stop worrying and decide to surrender to what is. That's the only time that we're able to free ourselves and raise our vibration, is when we let the worrying go. And I noticed I was okay with worrying, but when it got to the point where it escalated to anxiety, that's when I had to release it. um, because I could not, I couldn't bear, and I'll talk about that. So Eckhart Tolle addresses this. He actually references A Course in Miracles on page 189 of The Power of Now. Let me read that. He so here it goes. He says, the ego believes that through negativity, it can manipulate reality and get what it wants. It believes that through it, it can attract a desirable condition or dissolve an undesirable one. A Course in Miracles rightly points out that whenever you are unhappy, there is the unconscious belief that the unhappiness buys you what you want. If you, the mind, did not believe that unhappiness works, why would you create it? The fact is, of course, that negativity does not work. Instead of attracting a desirable condition, it stops it from arising. Instead of dissolving an undesirable one, it keeps it in place. Its only useful function, in quotes, is that it strengthens the ego, and that is why the ego loves it. Once you have identified with some form of negativity, you do not want to let go. And on a deeply unconscious level, you do not want positive change. It would threaten your identity as a depressed, angry, or hard done by person. You would then ignore, deny, or sabotage the positive in your life. This is a common phenomenon. It is also insane. Eckhart always likes to refer to the ego as insanity. So in that, he explains what we just talked about, how we some kind of way feel like it's going to buy us a positive outcome. So I wanted to talk about pain being an entryway into surrender. It's like the thing that causes us suffering is also the thing that can also free us. Again, when I was worrying, I was okay. But when it escalated to anxiety, that's when I recognized that I could no longer damage myself in that way. The pain that I experienced when I began to feel the anxiety in my body, when my felt the heart sunken feeling in my heart every time I thought about what I feared and the rapid heartbeat, that is when I had to disrupt the momentum of that fear, because fear builds momentum. It doesn't stay where it is. It can start with worrying, it can escalate to anxiety. Anxiety escalates to panic attacks, and then panic attacks continue to escalate to physical illness. So in that case, my level of pain superseded my allegiance to my ego. And in that moment, pain was my entryway back into presence. So if we do not have an escalating intensity of pain, we could be in a constant state of fear, worry, and anxiety. And everyone's tolerance for pain is different. And I have a secret I want to share. The more you study A Course in Miracles, the more you do these lessons, you begin to be used to having a high vibration. So when we get in situations like where we begin to worry, or we have a conflict, or we have a grudge, you feel it. It's like you're tolerant. It's like if you drink a lot and then you stop drinking, and then you go out with friends and you have a couple glasses of wine and you're like, oh my God, like, why am I tipsy? That I used to could just down this, and be with no problem. But it's like your tolerance level for pain diminishes, which of course is a blessing, right? Um, but without this suffering, we would be how some people live, where 100% of the time there's this dull, underlying sense of pain that they're in. Um, and it's difficult to perceive because they don't slow down enough it's like they're afraid to even get in contact with it, but it's always in a background where there's always this fear or panic or worry or a level of anxiety that they live with 100% of the time. Um, and on page 36 of The Power of Now, Eckhart Tolle coins what he calls it the pain body, a negative energy field of accumulated pain that occupies your body and mind. Eckhart says if you look on it as an invisible entity in its own right, you're getting close to the truth of it. It's the emotional pain body. It has two modes of being, either dormant or active. He explains that a pain body may be dormant 90% of a time, but when we're in a certain situation, it comes that pain body becomes active. It says, but in a deeply unhappy person, though, it may be active up to 100% of the time. And we have felt these kind of people where it just is uncomfortable being around them. They just are either always angry or just negative, or it's always have a complaining voice, and it just doesn't, feel good of being around. These are those kind of people where unfortunately they're suffering from this pain body all the time. It's active all the time. He said that some people live almost entirely through their pain body. So in those people, they may not even perceive the energy of worry because they worry all the time. It's either the past or the future, or, they never can really uh, relax. So surrender. What is surrender? Surrender is defined as the letting go of mental, emotional resistance to what is, or simply put, the acceptance of what is. Surrender does not mean to give up or to passively put up with the situation that is ailing you, but to accept the present moment and the reality of what is, and coupling that with action if needed. Surrender is to remind ourselves that God did not bring us this far to leave us hanging, that we are individuations of God, and that nothing real can be destroyed, that we existed before we acquired our bodies, and that we will exist after our bodies expire, that we are not our bodies, and when we judge something as wrong or bad, we are telling God that we know better than he does. Surrender is trusting that God is smarter than we are and that he loves us beyond our understanding. Eckhart talks about surrender with action. He talks about what that is. So on page 208, he says, surrender is perfectly compatible with taking action, initiating change, or achieving goals. But in the surrendered state, we experience a totally different energy, a different quality flows into your doing. Surrender reconnects you with the source energy of being. And if your doing is infused with being, it becomes a joyful celebration of life energy that takes you more deeply into the now. Through non resistance, the quality of your consciousness and therefore the quality of whatever you are doing or creating is enhanced immeasurably. The results will then look after themselves and reflect that quality. We could call this surrendered action. It is not work as we have known it for thousands of years. As more humans awaken, the word work is going to disappear from our vocabulary, and perhaps a new word will be created to replace it. So Eckhart talks about, you know, surrender is, it's just, it brings a different energy uh, to our doingness. So we have the beingness, right? It's who we are. And then once we're in that space of knowing who we are, we can then focus on doing this and add that energy to it. I always say everything that I do, I don't want to do with fear. So, like if I'm anxious and I'm wanting to, if I need to prepare for something or whatever, and I'm anxious, and I want to plan around it, because that's what we do, right? I purposely wait until my energy field is different before I act, because it's as if what I would do, I want to do it with the energy of positivity, constructiveness, creativeness, and that's difficult to do if we are on the spectrum of fear rather than love. Eckhart defines the ego's version of surrender on page 210, which, I think is great because I've done this as well. So he talks about, he said, do not confuse surrender with an attitude of, I can't be bothered with this anymore. Or I just don't care anymore. If you look at it closely, you will find that such an attitude is tainted with negativity in the form of hidden resentment. And so is not surrender at all, but masked resistance. As you surrender, direct your attention inward to check if there is any trace of resistance left inside you. Be very alert when you do this. Otherwise, a pocket of resistance may continue to hide in some dark corner in the form of a thought or an unacknowledged emotion. I always say, incarnating on this planet is not for the punks, okay? It's like, no, you can't even say I can't, which I've said that so many times. I just can't be bothered with this anymore. I'm done. So he's saying that's not true surrender. So, but just masked resistance, but just really being in a state of trusting God and figuring out how to get there in the situation I was in, I had to figure out, how do I get to surrender? Because I don't want to be in any more pain anymore. I don't want to be in this mental anguish anymore. So Eckhart talks about a powerful, one of the things that I love about that the first time I read this book that stuck with me. Um, on page 189, he says, negativity is totally unnatural. It is a psychic pollutant. And there is a deep link between the poisoning and destruction of nature and the vast negativity that has accumulated in the collective human psyche. No other life form on the planet knows negativity, only humans. Just as no other life form violates and poisons the earth that sustains it. Have you ever seen an unhappy flower or a stressed oak tree? Have you come across a depressed dolphin, a frog that has a problem with self-esteem, a cat that cannot relax, or a bird that carries hatred and resentment? The only animals that may occasionally experience something akin to negativity or show signs of neurotic behavior are those that live in close contact with humans, and so link into the human mind and its insanity. He says, watch any plant or animal and let it teach you acceptance of what is, surrender to the now. Let it teach you being. Let it teach you integrity, which means to be one, to be yourself, to be real. Let it teach you how to live and how to die, and how not to make living and dying into a problem. He says, I have lived with several Zen masters, all of them cats. Even ducks have taught me important spiritual lessons. Just watching them is a meditation. How peacefully they float along at ease with themselves, totally present in the now, dignified and perfect as only a mindless creature can be. Occasionally, however, two ducks will get into a fight, sometimes for no apparent reason, or because one duck has strayed into another's private place or space. He says the fight usually lasts only for a few seconds, and then the ducks separate, swim off in opposite directions, and vigorously flap their wings a few times. They then continue to swim on peacefully as if the fight had never happened. He says, when I observed that for the first time, I suddenly realized that by flapping their wings, they are releasing surplus energy, thus preventing it from becoming trapped in their body and turning into negativity. This is natural wisdom. And it is easy for them to do because they do not have a mind that keeps the past alive unnecessarily and then builds an identity around it. So, this particular action that Eckhart is referring to with the ducks is a powerful observation. And I didn't realize it, but I actually use this same shaking off, of residue very often for myself. And I encourage my clients to do this often when they're dealing with a situation such as a grudge against someone, or worrying about something, or when a stressful event has occurred, or even to mentally release someone who has a very negative disposition. I'm going to show you, I learned this powerful releasing method from a wildly popular hypnotherapist by the name of Abba Weinman. I'm giving her credit. She uses it while accessing a person's subconscious, but it is just as powerful when done consciously. So I have them physically release that negative, toxic energy or thought form up to the universe for healing by using a sweeping movement with their hands and say, I release this to the universe for healing. And it's very important that it's done physically and verbally. So I get them to, whatever the situation is, sweep your hands like this and say, I release this in the universe. And it's a physical shaking away of excess energy out of your body and out of your, mentally releasing it, letting go. I just tell people, let it go. And I have them physically do this. I give it to the universe for healing. I'm letting this go. I'm not holding on to this. This is not serving me to hold on to this. This is not for me to figure out. I'm going to let God figure this out. I'm letting this go. So I encourage and then shake it. Shake it. That's what the ducks are doing. I didn't realize that that's what it's in this same way, but it is. You're shaking away that excess energy out of your body and out of your mind. And so I encourage everyone to do that if something just keeps getting on you. I have found this to be incredibly effective if it is coupled with a serious intention to let it go without allowing the mind to pick it back up. So Eckhart also talks about another way to stop negativity from arising is through transparency. On page 193, he says, so he says, somebody says something to you that is rude or designed to hurt. How many of us have been in that situation? Instead of going into unconscious reaction and negativity, such as attack, defense, or withdrawal, let it pass right through you. Offer no resistance. It is as if there is nobody there to get hurt anymore. That is forgiveness. In this way, you become what you are, which is invulnerable. You can still tell that person that his or her behavior is unacceptable if that is what you choose to do, but that person no longer has the power to control your inner state. You are then in your power, not in someone else's, nor are you run by your mind, whether it is a car alarm, a rude person, a flood, an earthquake, or the loss of all your possessions. The resistance mechanism is the same, just allowing it to run through you. And, you can imagine that this is, an incredible mental and spiritual exercise. But if you keep your mind and keep working from that higher self, you can do it. I've definitely been in that situation where I'm saying, you know what? Having my feelings hurt in order to allow someone to hurt my feelings, I have to, on some level, give them permission to do that. And so just because someone is rude or angry or in attack mode, it doesn't mean that I have to receive or contend with that energy. That's theirs. That's theirs. That speaks to who they are. It doesn't speak to who I am. And so you can just mentally allow yourself to just let that run through you, instead of allowing it to impact you. Um, so, so that is the lesson for tonight, ladies. Hi, Deshauna. Hi, Takia. So that's the lesson for tonight. So do we have any thoughts on what we learned tonight? Eckhart is powerful. He is powerful. He's all over the internet. He has incredible meditations. A lot of times, if you look up Eckhart Tolle on YouTube, on one of his videos, he's in a before COVID. Of course, he was on stage. He's a little bitty man on stage in front of like hundreds of people in the audience, and they're just sitting there just laughing and a lot of times he's just sitting there in silence, and everybody is silent with him. And there's one video where he's sitting there and he's like, I don't know, I have nothing else to say. There's nothing that I have to say next, and yet I feel comfortable, right? Because I don't feel like I should have to, like, we can enjoy the silence. And I don't feel like you all are impatient that I don't have anything else to say. And it's just his energy is incredible. So check him out. He has a lot of free resources, just a lot of, he addresses many different things, and he incorporates humor a lot, which I love. So I see Ebony says, I used to be her. Thank you, God, for healing, constant state of gratitude. Yes, yes, yes. Does anybody have anything to offer? No pressure. I just want to give anybody an opportunity to speak on what we talked about tonight. If there was anything that struck you or anything else you might want to talk about. So hearing nothing, let me know. Let me know. Just unmute yourself if you did want to say something. And Cherry said, geesh, I cannot relate. She said she can really relate. So I wanted to go into the meditation, and we've done this meditation before, but I think it's so appropriate to what we talked about tonight with surrender. And so if we are ready to go into the meditation, I would like for everybody to, get in a comfortable position and close your eyes if you can, if you're not driving. And we're going to start with our breath, breathing in through your nose and exhaling through your mouth, releasing all that resistant energy that we have, allowing it to flow out of us. Inhaling again through the nose and exhaling through the mouth, inviting that relaxation energy into our bodies. Inhaling again for the third time and exhaling through the mouth, relaxing your shoulders, your back, your hips, your thighs, relaxing your legs, your ankles, and your feet, feeling that relaxation all throughout your body. And now we're breathing in a comfortable rhythm. Now I want you to connect with your soul, connect with the vertical flow from heaven to earth. The soul descends and the body becomes imbued with the light of the soul. The body is nurtured and inspired by it. The body receives the soul, and the light passes through the body into the earth. From this point of view, there is nothing to worry about. Everything is fine, just as it should be. So we feel in this gentle yet powerful flow from heaven to earth, from head to toe. I invite you to feel your divinity in this moment. And I know some of us live with pain in the body. So inviting that soul, feeling that your power beyond the pain you might experience, believing that you are higher than this experience right now. As we take a deep breath, we recognize that we are engaging in life within the body. And with this illusion of separation comes a horizontal experience, which invites other energies that are at play. So these horizontal influences that come from society are based on fear and judgment, and the idea that life on earth is entirely about survival, struggle, and competition with others. They produce anxiety, stress, and worry that we may feel in our stomach and abdomen, our chest, upper back, and our throat. What matters, however, is that you feel ever more strongly the connection that runs vertically, the connection between heaven and earth, between soul and body. As we collectively take a deep breath, let's reconnect with that vertical flow, back to heaven, back to the soul. This connection strengthens you and enables you to preserve your light so that the lower vibrations of fear will no longer have much effect on you. Now, I would like for you to imagine that your light is now flowing through you into the world, sending that powerful God energy out. As you do this, you are helping to shape the collective energy on earth and redirect it by making it more light and more radiant, so that it is easier for other people to believe in their flow between soul and body, their connection between above and below. Now I would like for you to relax your arms beside you and place your hands on your lap. And as you rest your hands on your lap, place the palms of your hands up toward the ceiling. And slowly open your hands. We are inviting that energy of surrender that we talked about tonight. And we are doing a very physical demonstration of our surrender by having our hands open, resting and relaxed on our lap, but open. And as your hands are open, I would like for you to slowly release all of the worry, all of the stress, fear, and anxiety, allowing that energy to flow right up to the universe, as we talked about, flowing up to the universe for healing. So I want us to take a moment. Take a moment and allow that energy, that anxiety, that stress, that worry, that resistance, that unhappiness, mentally allow that energy to flow upward through the palms of your hands, and tell yourself, I'm giving this to God right now. This is not mine. What can I do with it? Nothing. I don't want to hold on to it. Oftentimes, when we are stressed, we clench our fists as if we are fighting a battle. And so I invite you to surrender all of that to God, who sustains us all. Give it to God. This is yours, God. You are smarter than me, and I don't want to worry about it another moment. Continue to hold the palms of your hands open toward the ceiling, and imagine you are allowing God to take your burdens. The seemingly small stressors or the big ones, they are all alike, and all are meant to take away our peace. And therefore, we are giving it to God, who knows every hair on our head. Taking a deep breath and connect with the knowledge that you are unconditionally loved by your source. There is no greater love than God's. No force greater equipped to figure it all out, every single bit of what may be troubling you. And as you continue to hold your palms to the ceiling, you're sending a powerful message to God that your complete trust is in Him, and that you are releasing it all for healing. Now, as Mother Earth supports you, and in this moment, your guides surround you. In this moment, you are surrounded by your angels. I would like for you to remember this feeling. This is what surrender feels like. It does not mean to give up, but surrender means to completely trust your source from which you came. You are made of love, from love, for love. And as we take a deep breath and reintegrate back into our rooms, back into our bodies, We remember this beautiful feeling, and we know that we can surrender always and at all times, and our peace will be restored. This is our birthright as God's children: peace, not worry, freedom from fear. So let's allow God to do what He does and free ourselves. So as we open our eyes and integrate back into our bodies, I want everybody to know that you are able to enter into the energy of surrender and peace and calm and happiness anytime you want to and in any way you want to. That energy is always accessible to us. So thank you all for joining. Do we have any comments, questions, anything? If not,
I found the theme of surrender, and then also stop resisting, kind of like the presence or what is. That is the second time that those two things have confronted me, like in the last 5 days, with both of them being confronting me at the same time on a particular day. So
wow.
I find, and I find it interesting because you do say, well, how do you surrender? How do you surrender? I recently asked someone, how do you be in this moment at the time?
Yeah.
And, she was explaining that anything that you look at as it relates to the past brings depression, and anything where you go too far in the future brings anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important that you try to stay in the present. So obviously it's really something that I need to look at and take a really interest in trying to embrace. So I found that very, very interesting.
And it definitely, thank you for your comments, Cherry. It definitely takes. Like I said, I was just in this situation, and so to, I had to figure it out because I didn't. It was so uncomfortable, Cherry. Like I know you know, it was so uncomfortable just being. It was painful. It was painful. So I had to. I had. It was the pain that had to help me figure it out because it was like I can't. I can't, I have to free myself from this resistance, from this pain that I'm feeling. And so sometimes, you know, like I know for me, I had to say, are you okay right now? Like right in this moment? Yes. Right in this moment, I'm okay. Right in this moment, I'm not in any danger. So then stay right here. Stay right here. Whatever that means. If that's doing the dishes, if that's relaxing, reading a book, vacuuming floor, laying down, stay right here. Don't think about what tomorrow is going to bring. Uh, right here. Don't go any further than right here. And it is an addiction that we go in the future. And it's definitely an addiction that we go in the past. And Cherry, I know we've talked about where, if you have a good day, how your mind wants to, say, oh, damn, I don't want to experience that yesterday again, but it really is like it's practice. But I do believe that every time that that you allow yourself to be in a present moment, I do believe that you are releasing energy, you are releasing yourself from accumulating painful energy in the future. Every time that you are able to access that presence right now, you are ensuring a um a more peaceful future. And that's for all of us, and um in whatever way that comes. But thank you for sharing. And of course, I have so much love and respect for you. And thank you for sharing. Roxanne, you unmuted. Did you want to share?
Yes. Because I always feel like every time I journey sessions, it just hits home in so many ways.
Mm-hmm.
And this morning, so I decided I'm gonna get up and start walking again. Khadija knows I used to take my 1 hour walks every day,
Nice.
but
Oh, love that.
I stopped doing it for months, and I would walk and I would listen to a sermon or just something positive. And what I was listening to this morning was a sermon on I think it's "It Had to Happen" was the title of it, and the pastor was saying that whenever like a crisis happens, our first reaction is always to like question God and ask why did it have to happen, and we dwell on the now and what's going on instead of thinking about like better ways to respond to whatever it is the trauma may be, and how we need to learn how to respond to learning that the right way to respond to a situation is more important than
Mm-hmm.
trying to understand or learn the reasons
Mm,
behind it.
mm.
And that just, and again, you, us, as always, just somehow happen to tie that all together. But listen to you saying, don't worry and not to worry, and especially in the now and release it, like just kind of tied in what I was listening to this morning.
Girl, I need to figure out what pastor you be listening to, because she be on it. I love it. I
I
love
choose
it. I
so
love
many different ones. I have like three favorites, but
it. Just reminds me how in conversations with God, how God says, I talk to you always.
hmm
Not only always meaning all the time, but I talk to you in all ways, whether
hmm
Tuesday
hmm
evening Zoom meeting, or Sunday's sermon, or in the
Right.
book, and always. I love it. That is, when you say that, that made me think about Oprah's definition of forgiveness, which
hmm
always stuck with me. And she
hmm
said, forgiveness is recognizing that it was not supposed to happen any differently than how it did.
hmm
And I'm like,
hmm
oh my God, because that is what it is that
Yep.
ties us to an event, is us not, why did that happen? That shouldn't have happened. And, why did he do that? Why did she do that? Why did I do that? And just not releasing um,
Yeah.
that it occurred,
hmm
and just accepting it wasn't supposed to. And in many ways, guys, it wasn't supposed to happen any different